Hi, good afternoon, friends. For those of you who don't know me, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Marcolyn, and I would like to tell you my story. For my friends who have learned about my channel and are following me, welcome. Here's my story that you may not know already. On the morning of August 5th, 2022, so about 22 months ago from now, I got up, I donated plasma, I came home, mowed my yard, and when I was done I had a slight headache and my left arm had fallen asleep, which was not unusual. We have quite a bit of land here, so to mow all the pastures takes about 2-3 hours, and it wasn't unusual for my arm to fall asleep on our zero-turn lawnmower. It also wasn't unusual for me to have headaches. I had them often.
I want to give her stuff.
So I didn't think anything of it until much later. So in order to remedy that, I went inside my house to take some acetaminophen, drink plenty of water, and then I was going to come back outside to enjoy the beautiful weather. We were having weather much like today. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold, it was sunny, there was a nice breeze, and I wanted to play in the dirt in my flower beds because they needed weeded. But when I got inside, I discovered that we didn't have any acetaminophen, so I drank a large glass of water and laid down to take a nap for my headache to resolve itself before it got worse. My then 8-year-old son came to lay next to me in my king-size bed, and he took a nap with me. It wasn't long and I got a notification on my phone that my Amazon packages had been delivered. They were supplies for my 3rd grade classroom. At that time of my life, I was an elementary school teacher. I had just finished my 1st year of teaching as a 2nd grade teacher, and the coming school year I was going to teach 3rd grade. I was very, very excited about it. Absolutely fell in love with the job. Decided that I wouldn't regret that I didn't do it my whole life, but that I would just enjoy every minute of it going forward. So I got up to locate my supplies and planned to take them to my classroom to unbox them and organize them into my classroom system. My son got up with me. I checked the front door and they weren't there, so I went to check our garage door, but I never made it there. My son, I don't remember what happened at all, but my son told me that he saw me fall and tried to get back up and I couldn't. So that worried him, and he ran to get my husband, his dad, who is the perfect person you want to have around in any emergent situation. He has a background as a firefighter, an EMT. He was currently working as a police officer. He just was a blessing. So he quickly assessed me. I do remember him shining lights in my eyes and asked me who the president was to see if I was oriented. And then I remember him making a phone call saying, I've got a 39-year-old female with stroke symptoms. I need an ambulance. And sometime before the ambulance came, I lost control of my bladder. I just sat on my floor and peed my pants, and for some reason that just didn't even bother me. I was such a neat freak. I had to have everything clean and sterilized in my home, so that would have, if I would have been in my right state of mind, that would have really upset me. I remember the ambulance coming, and a lot of the guys were very nice. They had just helped, like the month earlier, with my daughter. She had knee surgery down at Riley, and my husband and I didn't know how to get her out of our minivan and into our house, into the recliner, because she couldn't bend her knees and her pain medicine had worn off from the surgery. So they had come to our house and used backboard to get her into our house and into the recliner. So I remember one of the guys saying, "Hey, remember me? I helped with your daughter." They're just so nice. And then I don't remember anything about where I went. I guess I went to a hospital and they couldn't really treat me there, but they loaded me into they did determine that I did have a stroke there, and they loaded me into a helicopter and flew me to IU Methodist in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was in the ICU for two weeks, I was told. I don't remember anything about it except for one day I woke up and my family was eagerly waiting to know if I knew who they were, because the temporal and frontal lobe of my brain had been affected by my stroke, so there was a chance that it affected my memory and I wouldn't know my family anymore. So I was able to identify everyone except for one person. I think they threw a stranger in there to mess with me. They're rotten like that. I can see them doing that. I don't know if that's a real memory that I have or if that's just, I don't know. Sometimes I have what I think are memories and I don't know if they are memories, or I have a hard time discerning what's real anymore. I do remember being moved from the ICU to a regular bed. My beautiful in-laws were there that day, and it was such a big deal that I was medically stable enough to move to a regular bed, but I had no idea I'd been in the ICU for 2 weeks. After lots of tests and getting me medically stable, I was transferred to a rehabilitation hospital, which is, in all reality, it's a nursing home, where I stayed until September 23rd of 2022. So, but in my mind, that stayed from from August to September. In my mind, that felt like 2 years while I was there. But while I was at the nursing home, I gained an unhealthy love for 70s TV for someone who was born in 1983. But I did meet some of the coolest, funniest people I would ever know. Every day my day was structured, and I would get up and have hours of speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. Sometimes they would do group therapy, so I'd get to meet the other people on my floor and we would play games together. Some of the games were like bingo to try to help with our cognitive, and I remember playing like a tossing game. It was similar to cornhole, but there was no boards or bags. It was just a ball that you had to try to throw closest to a stick or something. I don't remember exactly, but that was always fun when we had group therapy. I liked it the best. Before my stroke, I was very introverted, and after, I became very extroverted, which is weird but interesting to me. Going to the dining hall to eat meals was considered a part of therapy, so you could only refuse one meal a day. But the stroke affected my tastes and my appetite, so to make me go eat felt more like torture than providing care. Stroke survivors also struggle with fatigue and sleepiness, and every part of my day was structured, so when did I have time to become addicted to MASH? Well, when I couldn't get back to sleep after being woke up to be given meds. I would turn on the TV and watch MASH and Hogan's Heroes and whatever was on at that time until I could fall back asleep. I was the most tired I'd ever been in my life in the hospital. Sometimes after a sleepless night, they would come in when it was still dark outside and encourage me to get up and shower and then go to breakfast. But I preferred to shower with my occupational therapist because she would encourage me to do everything myself and teach me new ways to clean myself with adaptive equipment. Like, she gave me a loofah on a stick to wash my legs and feet since I'm paralyzed on my left side from my right-sided stroke. So it was hard to reach everything with just my right arm. So I had a loofah on a stick, and she taught me new ways to clean myself and care for myself and get dressed. And she didn't just hastily do it for me. So I always like to be able to do that with occupational therapy instead of just the nurses that work there. But I remember being so tired, I just wanted to go home and get a good night's sleep. I love the therapies so much. They were so helpful. Speech therapy worked on clearing my speech from sounding slurred and showed me games to play to stimulate cognitive rehabilitation. Occupational therapy worked on helping me with daily living skills, learning to dress and shower. Physical therapy worked on helping me to walk again and helped to get me a proper AFO, which is an ankle foot orthotic, to support my knee from slamming back, help my toe drop, because when I had a stroke, my left side is paralyzed. My toe would just, instead of being like up, it just would flop. So in order to walk, I would just kind of drag it along. But I got a brace to help me with that. But since then, I've graduated from that brace. I eventually, when I got home, taught myself how to walk without the brace entirely. So my knee quit slamming back, and I started working on my toe drop and my ankle rolling without any kind of orthotic support at all. Just because with my ankle foot orthotic, I could only tolerate to wear it maybe 2 hours at a time, not more than that. So if my husband would put it on me before he left for work, by 9 o'clock I had taken it off because it was just too painful. So if I didn't learn to walk without my brace, I would have been stuck in my recliner for the whole day, not being able to go to the bathroom or anything. So I taught myself how to do that, and that helped me to graduate from a big clunky brace to now I just have one that supports my ankle and my toe drop And my physical therapist now thinks that with the continued Botox injections in my calves and possibly a tendon lengthening procedure in my brace, that I should be able to walk independently without my cane. That would be amazing. I feel like I probably could do that too. I think that would be a possibility. It's my goal eventually to run a marathon. Not to win it, but just because I can. I want to be able to do that one day, to regain that ability. Not that I could run a marathon before my stroke, but I think that once I'm up and able to go, that I probably won't want to stop. I've been paralyzed on my left side. I've been working in occupational therapy. They do e-stimulation where they hook me up to a machine that they put pads on different muscle groups and send electric shocks through it to stimulate my muscles to try to wake them up so that I can regain use of my shoulder. I met with my orthopedic surgeon 3 months ago. He had lost all hope that I would regain any motion in my left arm at that appointment, and during this appointment, when I was able to raise my arm a little bit, he was so excited. He said, I would have bet you $100 that 3 months ago that you wouldn't have been able to do this appointment. So now he's hopeful of me again, and we're gonna go back in 3 months, have another appointment, and look into the possibility that I could possibly get my shoulder put back into place. As a result of my stroke, my muscles can't hold it in there anymore. They're paralyzed. So gravity has taken my shoulder and just displaced it out of socket, and it just hangs there. That's what my brace is for. But I wasn't a candidate for surgery to fix it, even though it causes me so much pain every day, because he said I could put it back in place, but without your ability to move your arm, you're not going to be able to keep your arm in place. So it would just be pointless, and opening you up would risk infection, and so you're not a good candidate for surgery. But it sounds like maybe I'm getting to the point where I can be. I just keep trying. My occupational therapist told me to do that 200 times a day. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna do that 200 times a day. I will do it when I think about it and as much as I can, but it's exhausting, and I'll do the best I can. May 2024 has been a really good month for me. I got to do a driver evaluation to see if I am ready to return to driving or not, and I passed it, so I am. The evaluation was very in-depth testing. It tested my cognitive abilities, my eyesight, my reaction times, and my knowledge of the driving laws, including what signs meant what, all before I could even get in the vehicle. Then she told me to take her to my old job and other places, which I remembered how to get there. I was surprised about that because I felt like after my stroke and not being able to drive for almost 2 years that I would just forget where things were and I'd get lost, but I didn't. When I had my stroke 22 months ago, my original neurologist, I don't have him anymore, he didn't have really any expectations for me. He told my husband that I'd never work again and he'd be surprised if I learned to walk or wipe my own ass again. I was discharged to home around September 23rd, 2022 from the nursing home, and I walked into his office for a follow-up appointment with a cane. My husband relayed my progress to him, and he humbled himself and said, "You've already exceeded every expectation I could have ever had for you." That felt really good. But for 22 months, I've been holding on to this delusion that until very recently, when I had to resign from teaching, that I would be returning to work, to teaching in my classroom any day now. I am in the process of transitioning my business degree to teaching through the Teachers of Tomorrow program. And my mentor from Teachers of Tomorrow told me, "Don't give up on your dream. You were born to teach." She's actually seen me teach my class through parts of the program where I had to do like observations. So she's not just saying that because she thinks I'm a nice person. Hopefully not. But the driving evaluator linked me up to a vocational rehabilitation services to see what, if any, work I can do as I am. After meeting with the very nice lady from vocational rehabilitation, or VR as they call it, I have a vision to finish my Teachers of Tomorrow program and to pass my state licensure exam to get my permanent teaching license and not just my temporary transition to teach license that I carry now, so that I can tutor or teach online. And if that's not very lucrative, then I've considered trying to go back and get my master's degree in social work so that I can be a college professor and or a mental health counselor. I just feel led to share my story with others in an effort to try to help them. Of all my experiences, this one has brought me the closest to God, who is my higher power, and I owe all the thanks and glory to Him. If not for God, this would be a very different experience. I probably would have killed myself off months or even years ago. The pain and loneliness that my stroke has caused is sometimes unbearable. But I have all the time in the world to cast my cares on God, trust Him, and rely on Him. And it's really all I can do to help myself. But it's the best thing I can do. God is my healer, my Father, and I have so much to be thankful for. And I try to remember to keep my eyes on Him when I'm idle. And when I do, everything always works out the way it's supposed to. I gotta say, I never planned this for my life. I don't think I really ever planned anything for my life, but I feel like God has found a way to work everything out in my favor. About 15 years ago, I was engaged to marry a wonderful man. I loved him deeply, and one night he had a massive heart attack and died unexpectedly. My heart was broken. I was so devastated. I thought my life was over at that point. And then I remembered my college sweetheart, who is my husband now, and I somehow, some way, figured out how to get in contact with him again. So he and I started dating, I guess, at that point. And I don't know if you can really call it dating. I would just drive down to his apartment after work and Netflix and chill with him. And we ended up pregnant with our first child, a daughter. She is amazing. She reminds me so much of her dad and has all his good qualities. I just think God knew what he was doing all along. Anyway, I married that man, and then we had another child who is my son, and I love him so deeply. And my husband, I find him, he's not so much my husband anymore as he's more my caregiver, but he's such an inspirational man. He has fought his own battles and won with alcohol addiction. We made it through that early on, and I think it's just because God knew that this was coming, and Rob wouldn't have been able to handle all of that if he was still actively drinking. So my husband is maybe 6 years sober, and I thank God every day. He's just grown into such a beautiful human. He's inspirational to me every day. Glory to God. Thank you for listening.